The retirement sticker price was engineered. Here's who wrote it and what it's costing you. 93% of retired Americans, people who have already stopped working, who are living in retirement right now, today, do not have $500,000 saved. And the financial institutions publishing the benchmarks telling you that $500,000 is nowhere near enough have always had access to that exact federal data. They publish the fear. They own the facts. Simultaneously, the sticker price was never an accident. It was engineered, and in the next few minutes, I am going to show you exactly who wrote it, what it has cost, the people who believed it, and this is the part the industry hopes you never run, the income math that makes the sticker price completely irrelevant for most people. The car lot, walk onto any dealer lot, and the MSRP is right there on the window. Bold, official, laminated. The full sticker price printed as though it were a natural law. Almost nobody pays it. There is the invoice price, the manufacturer incentive, the in-dub quarter discount they will absolutely give you if you show up on the right day. The actual transaction price on almost any car is meaningfully below the sticker, but the sticker is on every window, creating the impression that the full number is the only number. The retirement industry has been running the same play for 30 years. $1.5 million is the MSRP, and I'm going to spend the next few minutes showing you what people actually need and what it costs when the sticker wins. What the federal data actually shows here are the real numbers, sourced from the Federal Reserve Survey of Consumer Finances and the Employee Benefit Research Institute, not a brokerage marketing brochure. Not a survey about how Americans feel about retirement. For Americans between 65 and 70, for the average retirement account balance is approximately $609,000. It sounds almost healthy, until you understand what an average measures in a skewed distribution. The average is pulled far above the middle by the people with 3 million, 5 million, 10 million in accounts. It tells you about the weight of the top, not the reality of the middle. The median, the number where exactly half the population sits above and half below, is approximately $200,000 for that same age group. Half of all American retirees right now have less than $200,000 saved. The full distribution is even more striking. Approximately 7% of all Americans, not retirees specifically, all Americans, including younger people with more time to accumulate, have $500,000 or more in retirement accounts. Within the retired population specifically, roughly 3% have crossed the $1 million threshold. 3 out of 100 retired Americans walking around today have reached the $1 million mark. 97 have not. And yet, the entire benchmark conversation treats anything below that territory as a shortfall. The satisfaction paradox here is where the data produces a tension that the industry never addresses directly. If the standard benchmarks represent real minimums for a comfortable retirement, then what the Federal Reserve data shows is a civilizational catastrophe. 93% of American retirees would be failing right now. Every retiree you pass at the grocery store this week would be living in quiet financial disaster, except the Employee Benefit Research Institute Retirement Satisfaction Survey shows that 62% of retirees rate their satisfaction at an 8 or higher out of 10. Even in 2020, a pandemic year, markets volatile, real-world financial stress, widespread, a majority reported satisfaction. So, either the benchmarks are wildly wrong, or the definition of a comfortable retirement has been deliberately inflated to serve someone else's interests. I will let you hold that sentence for exactly a moment before naming whose interests those are. How the sticker price gets written. In the early 1990s, something fundamental shifted in American retirement. Defined benefit pensions, the kind where an employer promised a fixed monthly check for life, with no portfolio management required and no sequence of returns. Risk began disappearing at scale from the private sector. Between 1980 and 2019, private sector pension participation fell from roughly 38% of workers to approximately 13%. In their place came defined contribution plans, your 401k, your IRA, individual accounts that you manage, stress about, and pay fees on. Suddenly, tens of millions of Americans had to answer a question their parents never faced. How much is enough to retire? They had no framework, no institutional guidance, no clear benchmark. They had a brokerage account and a great deal of uncertainty. Financial institutions were perfectly positioned to answer the question. They had the actuarial tables, the modeling software, the distribution channels. They also had an extraordinary structural incentive to make the answer as large as possible. Here is the mechanism. and it is not subtle once you see it. The modern wealth management industry charges fees almost exclusively as a percentage of assets under management. If your advisor manages $200,000 for you, they charge approximately 1 to 1.5% annually, $2,000 to $3,000 per year. If they manage $400,000, same percentage, twice the revenue. The single most important variable in their business model is not whether you retire comfortably. It is how many dollars sit in managed accounts. More assets under management means more revenue. The sticker price exists because the sticker price is profitable. That is not a conspiracy theory. That is a disclosed revenue model. You can read the exact structure in any Form a DV filed with the SEC, a public document, free to search. What the fee actually costs, let us make this concrete rather than abstract. Because compound math in this direction is just as powerful as compound math working in your favor, a 1% annual fee on $200,000 is $2,000 per year. That sounds manageable. But over 30 years, the growth at fee prevents the investment return on the money paid out instead of compounding costs approximately $170,000 in foregone wealth, not the fee itself, the opportunity cost. Now scale that up. If the sticker price convinces you that you need to accumulate $1.46 million in a managed account, and you do it, and you pay 1% annually on that balance for 20 years, you are paying for the sticker price on the way in and paying a percentage of it every year you hold it. The MSRP keeps charging you after you drive off the lot, and the delivery mechanism for the sticker price is not a brokerage pamphlet. It is a survey about feelings. Consumers who have been marinated for decades in benchmark, talk and alarming retirement headlines from the same institutions report that they need approximately $1.5 million to retire comfortably. The industry publishes the survey. Financial media amplifies it. The cycle runs itself. Nobody manufactures the fear anymore. The ecosystem produces it automatically every year, with a new number and a new cohort of people who feel behind. The wrong question. Here is the reversal that changes everything. You think the problem is your savings balance. The actual problem is that you have been given a savings target with no income context attached. Without the income context, the savings number is completely meaningless. The retirement question is not, how much do I have saved? The retirement question is, how much income do I need every month? How much of that is already guaranteed? And what does my savings need to cover the gap between those two numbers? These are fundamentally different questions with fundamentally different answers. The industry consistently wants you answering the first question, because the first question is what they charge fees on. The second and third questions involve Social Security, pension benefits, paid-off housing, rental income, things that have nothing to do with managed investment accounts, so they consistently disappear from the conversation. They are not in the benchmark article. They're in the footnote of the footnote, if they appear at all. Frank in the two-pile framework. Frank is a composite drawn from patterns I have encountered often enough that the details feel earned. He is 67, a retired postal worker with 31 years of service, living in a mid-sized Midwestern city. His neighbors see a man who probably squeezed through retirement on not much. Modest house, older car, no vacation photos posted anywhere. Frank saved $140,000 over his career. By every sticker price standard, Frank is a cautionary tale, except Frank has a federal pension paying approximately $1,900 per month. He claims Social Security at 66 and receives $2,050 per month. His house has been paid off since he was 61. His total guaranteed monthly income is $3,950. His action monthly expenses in a paid-off home in a low-cost city run about $3,200. Frank is cash flow positive every single month of retirement. His savings sit in a low-cost index fund, growing slowly, available for emergencies. Frank is not surviving retirement. Frank is comfortable in retirement. With savings, the sticker price would classify as a quiet disaster. His neighbor, Gary, has $800,000 in a managed brokerage account at a 1.1%. Annual fee, $8,800 per year. No pension. A mortgage that runs until he is 71. He needs to withdraw roughly 4.5% of his portfolio annually to cover expenses, which already strains the range most planners consider safely sustainable. Gary reads every retirement article. Gary attended to financial planning webinars last year. Gary feels behind. Nobody in Gary's planning conversations has ever asked about his income floor. because Gary's advisor earns $8,800 per year on Gary's assets. The income floor question does not touch that number. Frank, with $140,000 saved, sleeps better than Gary. That is not a metaphor. That is the operating architecture of two different retirements. The invisible asset here is the number that almost never appears in mainstream retirement planning conversations. For a worker who earned average wages over a full career and claims Social Security at full retirement age, the benefit is somewhere between $1,800 and $2,500 per month in today's dollars. For a married couple where both spouses worked, that is potentially $3,500 to $4,500 per month in combined guaranteed NFL ATIO unadjusted income for life, requiring zero portfolio management. A private annuity providing $3,500 per month, inflation adjusted, over a couple's joint lifetime would cost somewhere between $800,000 and over $1 million to purchase from an insurance company today. Social Security is delivering that outcome to millions of households. It just does not show up in the assets under management column, so it disappears from the planning conversation. The benchmark calculations producing $1.46 million has your retirement target almost always assume you will need to replace 80 to 90% of pre-retirement income from your savings alone. Some exclude Social Security entirely from the model. Others apply it as a small offset buried in an assumptions tab. Remove Social Security from the income side, and of course the savings target looks catastrophic. You've deleted an asset worth the equivalent of $1 million annuity, and then told someone they are short $1 million. That is not analysis. That is a gap manufactured for a purpose. The full math for someone like you: consider someone earning $120,000 annually at 52, who has been maxing their 401k for roughly 15 years and carries a current balance of $380,000. Married, spouse, works part-time, mortgage projected to pay off by 65. They get the benchmark email every year telling them they are at 73% of their retirement goal. They feel behind. They skipped a family trip 2 summers ago because the anxiety was too loud to ignore. Here is what the full math actually shows. Social Security at full retirement age of 67 for someone with that earnings history, approximately $2,300 per month. The SSAS published benefit formula is free and takes 4 minutes to run at ssa.gov. Spouse projects roughly $950 per month. Combined guaranteed monthly income, $3,250. Actual projected monthly spending in retirement with grown children. No mortgage, no commuting costs, no work-related wardrobe or lunches, approximately $4,700 per month. The gap between guaranteed income and actual spending, $1,450 per month. Annualized, $17,400 per year. To cover $17,400 sustainably from savings using the 4% rule without depleting principal over 30 years. Approximately $435,000 required. Current balance, $380,000. 15 years, until 67, even with zero additional contributions starting today, which will not happen because they are still working and presumably still receiving an employer match. $380,000, compounding at a conservative 6% real annual return over 15 years, becomes approximately $911,000, more than double the actual required gap coverage. The benchmark email said they were at 73% of their goal. That is because the benchmark measured them against a sticker price that excluded their Social Security income, the MSRP one. Their vacation stayed unbooked. Their behavioral cost, nobody measures the psychological cost of believing you are behind when you are not, is not a soft, qualitative concern. It is measurable, and it compounds in the wrong direction. People who believe they are perpetually behind on retirement savings make systematically worse investment decisions. They panic sell during market corrections because every point of volatility feels existential rather than temporary. They overallocate to low-return safe assets because they have come to associate any risk with catastrophic danger rather than managed uncertainty. They avoid engaging with their finances entirely because the topic has become inseparable from shame, which means they miss contribution windows, employer matches, and Roth conversion opportunities that close at year-end and do not reopen. The sticker price does not make you save more aggressively. It makes you worse at the game you're actually playing. And being worse at the game is what creates the retirement shortfall the sticker price was supposedly warning you about. It is a self-reinforcing system that generates fee revenue at every stage of the loop. The delayed Social Security conversation nobody initiates. Every year you delay claiming Social Security past your full retirement age, your monthly benefit grows by approximately 8%. That is a guaranteed 8% annual increase on what is already an inflation-adjusted lifetime income stream. There is no investment product available to ordinary investors with a better risk-adjusted return than delayed Social Security claiming for people with a reasonable life expectancy. And yet, the conversation about delaying Social Security reduces the urgency around accumulating assets under management, so it does not tend to appear prominently in advisory relationships structured around percentage of assets, fees. Gary's advisor has a 12-page quarterly rebalancing report. The delayed claiming conversation is approximately 1 page. You can probably determine which one appears in the client review packet. 3 things to actually do. First, go to ssa.gov right now and run your Social Security estimate. Log in. It takes 4 minutes. Look at your projected benefit at 62, at full retirement age, and at 70. Write down those 3 numbers. Then add any pension income, rental income, or other guaranteed monthly payments from any source. That total is your income floor, the most important number in your retirement plan, and the one that every benchmark you have ever been given, either ignored or minimized. Second, calculate your actual retirement spending, not a percentage of your current income. Retirement spending typically falls 15 to 25% from peak earning years, because the mortgage often ends, children become financially independent, and work-related costs disappear entirely. For someone earning $120,000 today, actual retirement spending might be $65,000 to $75,000 annually, not $96,000, as an 80% income replacement ratio would suggest. The difference between a percentage-based estimate and a line-item budget can easily be $15,000 per year, which translates to $375,000 less in required savings at the 4% rule. That gap was manufactured by the percentage convention. Third, run the 2-pile calculation. Pile 1 is your guaranteed income floor. Pile 2 is your savings. The only meaningful question is how much Pile 2 needs to be to bridge the gap between Pile 1 and your actual spending. That is your real retirement target, not the MSRP on the window. Frank went to a hockey game with his grandkids last month. He checks his index fund account twice a year and has not made a single trade in 3 years. The account has grown. He is not worried about sequence of returns risk once in retirement because his income floor covers his expenses and his savings are a buffer, not a lifeline. Gary is in a meeting right now. His advisor just sent him a 12-page document about portfolio rebalancing in a high-inflation environment. Gary is going to read 6 pages and feel vaguely anxious about the part he did not finish. Gary's retirement date moved again last quarter. Gary has $800,000 and feels less secure than Frank with $140,000. Nobody in that meeting will say the words income floor. Nobody will mention the 8% annual return available from delaying Social Security. The MSRP is still on the window. The sticker price was always a number on a window designed to make you feel like you owe something you do not. Once you see the floor, once you run the actual income math, the sticker stops being scary. It becomes exactly what it always was.